Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is a pro-revenge story. A little backstory, I'm an online artist, and this took place when I was in my mid-20s, around 2019. There was a popular artist who called himself a professional and worked in the industry. I used to look up to him. Let's call him Alex. In early 2020, I noticed how Alex's art looked eerily too familiar to some pieces I'd seen before. So I looked up the images and found they matched up to his art. He was directly referencing official art and profiting off of it by selling it on his online print shops. He didn't make any effort to make the reference detach from the original piece. I confronted him about it, sending a detailed message not to do that and explaining the possible consequences. I told him, Alex, I've seen artists in real life who were sued for over $200,000 and even ended up in jail for doing what you're doing. This is serious. Instead of being professional and mature about it, he lashed out at me and took it to social media. He posted, "Can you believe this? Nobody trying to tell me how to do art? Artists use references all the time. This person could get sued for libel." I was dumbfounded at how clueless he was, not comprehending what I was talking about. I replied, "There's a difference between using references and directly copying. What you're doing is infringement." He included my username, which my blog had links to my contacts. My emails, Facebook page, art accounts, and Instagram were all exposed. His fans, including his group of friends, joined in sending me downright horrific messages. I had panic attacks resulting from the pure backlash of his enormous fan base. For almost 2 months, I constantly received hate mail. People would write things like, "You're a horrible person," "Your art is trash," and even send death threats. The last straw that broke the camel's back was when he directly referenced my art and made money off of it. I felt hopeless and angry that I couldn't do anything about it. I didn't know how to find a lawyer, but then it hit me. If I can't do it, maybe another artist can, or anyone who holds the copyright. The last time I checked, Alex never credited any of these artists for his references. I looked into the art he referenced and examined each official company matching Alex's art. I used Google search to find anyone working for a said company, and voila, I found a staff member for a branch in a different continent. Let's call her Emma. I contacted Emma's Facebook and tipped her about Alex's activity through Messenger. I uploaded and sent a copy of their art and Alex's art for comparison. Emma simply replied, "Thanks for the notice. I'll forward this to our legal team." Another week passed, and during that time Alex constantly posted comments on everything I shared on my art blog. And then silence. I checked his print shop, it was removed. His response to my message was taken down from his social media. He stopped talking to his friends publicly. Days later, a fan was asking about him, and he responded, "I'm no longer friends with those people, they're very toxic hypocrites." One of his former friends contacted my friend and cried about how awful a bully he was. My friend, of course, didn't care. It was the most glorifying feeling I have ever rejoiced in. This could have been avoided if he had at least heeded my warnings. How he handled the situation was not professional at all. About 3 years later, in 2023, I heard that he was having a tough time getting back into the industry. There were allegations of his past copyright infringement circulating. The biggest one was a lawsuit with the big company Emma worked for. I reflected on the situation, thinking, all of this could have been avoided if he'd just listened to me in the first place. The next one is an entitled people story. I never thought I'd end up in a situation like this. One minute I'm minding my own business at the park, and the next I'm being accused of something horrible just for trying to help a kid. It all started on a sunny Saturday afternoon. I decided to take my dog Max to the local park for some fresh air and exercise. The park was pretty busy that day, with families enjoying picnics and kids running around playing. I found a nice spot on the grass and started throwing a frisbee for Max. We were having a great time, just relaxing in the sunshine. After a while, I noticed a young boy, probably around 8 years old, sitting by himself on a bench nearby. He looked upset and was holding his arm kind of funny. Being a parent myself, I got concerned and decided to check if he was okay. I walked over and gently asked, "Hey buddy, are you all right? You look like you might be hurt." The boy looked up at me with teary eyes. "I fell off the monkey bars and my arm really hurts," he said quietly. I knelt down to his level and took a closer look. His arm was starting to swell up and looked like it might be sprained or even broken. "That looks pretty painful," I said sympathetically. "Where are your parents? We should let them know you're hurt." "My mom went to the bathroom," he replied. "She told me to wait here." I nodded and said, "Okay, well let's see if we can make your arm feel a bit better while we wait for her to come back. I have a first aid kit in my car." Would it be okay if I grab some ice and a bandage for you? The boy nodded, so I quickly ran to my car to grab my first aid supplies. When I got back, I gently wrapped an ice pack around his arm and secured it with an elastic bandage. "How's that feel?" I asked. "A little better?" He gave me a small smile and nodded. "Yeah, it doesn't hurt as much now. Thanks, mister." I sat with him for a few minutes, just chatting to keep his mind off the pain while we waited for his mom. I figured she'd be back any minute and would want to take him to get checked out by a doctor. Suddenly I heard an angry voice shouting from across the park, "Get away from my son!" I looked up to see a woman storming towards us, face red with rage. She grabbed the boy roughly by his uninjured arm and yanked him away from me. "What do you think you're doing?" she screamed at me. "How dare you touch my child?" I stood up, holding my hands out placatingly. "Ma'am, I was just trying to help. Your son fell and hurt his arm, so I—" She cut me off, shrieking even louder. "I don't care what your excuse is. You had no right to touch him without my consent. For all I know, you could be some kind of predator." By this point, her yelling had drawn the attention of everyone nearby. People were staring and whispering, no doubt wondering what was going on. I tried to explain again, keeping my voice calm. "I understand you're upset, but I assure you I was only trying to help. Your son was alone and in pain, so I gave him some first aid. First aid?" she interrupted again. "You mean you took his clothes off? That's it, I'm calling the police right now and having you arrested for sexual assault." I was completely stunned. How had offering a hurt child an ice pack turned into being accused of such a horrible thing? "Ma'am, please," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "That's not at all what happened. I only wrapped his arm. Look, he still has the ice pack on." But she wasn't listening. She had pulled out her phone and was already dialing cop, all while continuing to scream accusations at me. "Hello, police? There's a pedophile at City Park who just assaulted my son. You need to come arrest him immediately." My heart was racing. I couldn't believe this was happening. A small crowd had gathered around us now, murmuring and giving me suspicious looks. I felt sick to my stomach. Thankfully, an older woman who had been sitting nearby stood up and approached us. "Excuse me," she said firmly, "but I saw the whole thing, and this man did nothing wrong. He was only trying to help your son, who was clearly injured." The mom paused her tirade for a moment, glaring at the woman. "And who are you? His accomplice?" The older woman shook her head. "No, I'm a retired nurse who happened to be here reading my book. I watched that man carefully tend to your son's injury while waiting for you to return. He acted with nothing but kindness and concern." A few other bystanders who had seen what happened also spoke up, confirming that I had done nothing inappropriate. The boy himself was trying to tell his mom that I had only helped him, but she kept shushing him. Within a few minutes, 2 police officers arrived at the park. The mom immediately started ranting to them about how I had assaulted her precious baby and needed to be locked up forever. I was terrified as the officers approached me, but I calmly explained exactly what had happened. To my immense relief, they listened carefully and then turned to gather statements from the witnesses. It quickly became clear to the officers that the mom was the one causing a disturbance, not me. They pulled her aside and I heard them explaining that making false accusations was a serious offense. Meanwhile, one of the officers examined the boy's arm and decided he should be taken to the hospital to be checked for a possible fracture. As they were leaving, I heard the boy say to his mom, "But Mommy, why are you mad? That nice man just helped me when I was hurt." The mom's face turned bright red and she hurried away without another word. The officers apologized to me for the trouble and thanked me for helping an injured child. As things calmed down and the crowd dispersed, I sat down on a nearby bench, feeling drained. The older woman who had spoken up for me came over. "You okay, hun?" she asked gently. I nodded, still a bit shaken. "Yeah, I think so. Thank you so much for stepping in. I was scared there for a minute that people would actually believe her accusations." She patted my arm. "Of course, dear. I wasn't about to let that woman's hysteria ruin a good Samaritan's life. You did a kindness today. Don't let her take that away from you." I smiled gratefully, feeling a bit better. As I gathered up my things to head home, several people from the park came by to offer words of support. One dad even said, "I hope there are people like you around if my kids ever need help." That night I had trouble sleeping as I kept replaying the incident in my mind. How quickly an act of simple kindness had nearly turned into a nightmare. But I also thought about all the people who had stood up for me. Strangers who weren't willing to let false accusations go unchallenged. The next day, I got a surprise phone call from the police station. It was one of the officers from the park, letting me know that the boy's arm had indeed been fractured, and the doctor said my quick first aid had helped prevent further injury. He also told me the mom had come in to apologize for her behavior and retract her accusations. She was under a lot of stress and overreacted badly, the officer explained. But she wants you to know she's sorry and grateful for your help. I accepted the apology, glad the whole thing was resolved, but it definitely gave me pause about intervening in the future. In the end, though, I decided I'd still help a child in need. I'd just be sure to flag down another adult to witness it. It was a hard lesson in how quickly a misunderstanding can spiral out of control. But it also showed me that there are good people willing to stand up for what's right. I'm just glad the boy got the medical care he needed, and hopefully his mom learned not to jump to such extreme conclusions in the future. The next one is a petty revenge story. This isn't my story, but one a friend told me about in high school. At our district's schools, you would be given a planner with a certain amount of bathroom passes you could have for each pass per semester. Well, one day my friend I'll call Sarah had to pee really bad. A complete emergency in class is only halfway over, so Sarah raises her hand and asks to go to the bathroom. But she's out of bathroom passes, so the teacher tells her no. Sarah, please, it's an emergency, I really have to go. My friend said I could use one of theirs. Teach, absolutely not, you should have gone in between classes, you'll have to wait. Sarah, I really can't wait. Please, can I go? Teach, no. End of discussion. So, Sarah tries her best to hold it. 5 minutes pass and she simply cannot and begs the teacher again to let her go. He refuses once again. So Sarah, in all her petty glory, says, "If you don't let me go, I will pee right here at this desk. I can't hold it, please." But of course, the teacher doesn't believe her and denies her again. Sarah proceeds to stare him straight in the face and piss her pants without moving an inch. Teacher finally lets her go to the bathroom and to go change her clothes. Class ends early and the teacher has to clean it all up. He never denied a student ever again. The next one is a malicious compliance story. Hey Redditors, I get to share another small anecdote of my life as a truck driver and dealing with bouts of MC and whatnot. This one took place yesterday, but only heard back from the aftermath of it today. As a lot of people who dive into my post history, I am a truck driver, been one for almost 10 years now, and have started with a new company late last year. Usually I have no qualms with this company, until yesterday. A couple of runs I've done in the past with this company has had duplicate paperwork attached to the bills of lading, so to save time and headaches I usually scan in the signed version and call it a day. That usually doesn't cause problems, as payroll is aware of duplication and they completely understand. Recently our company was acquired by another company and we have to do things their way. First thing they did was crack down on the duplication issue, requiring all pieces of the bill of lading to be scanned in, and not just the signed versions. Okay, as my BOLs are only about 3 to 5 pages, 10 at the most. Well, I finished my first 4 stop run yesterday, and the shipper, in their infinite wisdom, thought it would be a brilliant idea to duplicate the first 6 pages of the BOL for each stop. On top of that, there was also some miscellaneous sheets of paper pertaining to each particular stop attached in their own cluster. In case you lost track, that's 24 sheets of paper just for the duplicates. Naturally, when I finished the last stop, I called payroll and asked them if I really needed to send all the papers for the BOLs, or could I get away with just sending them the signed portions? Nope. According to new policy, all the paperwork included in the BOL must be scanned in, or you won't get paid on the load. Fine then. You want to drown in paperwork? Be my guest. Cue the MC. I pulled into a truck stop to find a TransFlow kiosk, as it would be the only thing that would be able to handle such a daunting task. I stack my papers neatly and start the process. 77 pages later, I was done transflowing everything to payroll. I double-checked my work and submitted. This morning I get a phone call from payroll. In the future, when you have so many pages in your BOL, if you could eliminate all duplicate pages and just send us the signed forms, that would be great. Okay, guess you didn't like that wave of paper any more than I did sending it. Update. Just got an email from corporate at 7:30 a.m. It is telling me to not send in duplicate forms anymore, and they are working on rewriting the policy as to make it make sense to send in every page of a BOL, unless there are duplicates. Until then, I was told, send in your signed copies, and if there are duplicate pages, just send 1 copy of those with the BOL. The next one is an entitled people story. So we just got back from a week-long vacation. One of the guys my husband knows from board game nights needed a place to crash with his wife for a convention and some job search logistics in our city, and we cats, so having them house sit seemed like a win-win. Gonna call the wife Bonnie and the husband Clyde. They also needed a bit of time after our trip, which was also fine. One of our cats is kind of difficult, and 1 week of dedicated care was about equal to 2 weeks of crash space. They asked us if they could maybe stay a bit longer based on how the job search went. We thought that meant a few days. I know we're all trying to do less guest culture, but if you're sleeping in someone's living room, how would that not mean a few days? They asked for 3 months. Feeling a bit put on the spot, we agreed to 1 month, but even then they're trying to tack a few more days on, until Bonnie's birthday. Now that I write this, I kinda wonder if some of the math is, they won't kick us out on my birthday. My house isn't set up for roommates. It's barely set up for long visits. It has both my husband and I on edge. My husband is now in full idiot-eating crackers mode, where every little thing they do is setting him on edge. And of course they do a lot of little things, like leaving half-eaten food or half-drunk sodas out. Or spreading out their stuff in a common area, which probably seems reasonable because we don't really have a private area for them. I'm really not sure why they'd want to be here for 3 months. They'll be in a bad place if we kick them out. Their old place, the one they want to move from, is about 3 hours away, and due to a paperwork snafu, Clyde can't legally drive right now. Bonnie has a job now, but during training it won't pay enough for them to get an apartment. It's not a good situation, and I don't want to put them in a worse spot, but they can't stay here forever. Honestly, having them here past this weekend, like we'd originally agreed, is a really big imposition. I have big logistically complicated events running each weekend after that until mid-September, and I need the space to prepare. Is there a way to get them out of our house without torching friendships? Update. We know lawyers that specialize in evictions. Yeah, it's a nasty business, but the dark secret of lawyers is that the more the firm looks like a Hallmark villain, the better the office culture is. If they really make us do it, we can do it pretty efficiently, and there's some social consequences that will follow for them. If they were thinking that was an option, that's going to get very ugly for them very quickly. Update the second. Something came up and they'd objectively be monsters if they tried to stay past the date we originally agreed on. So that's currently the plan, and we're not budging on it. They aren't monsters, they're just people who expect one solution to all their problems. Should clarify for the sake of Clyde. I should have said he can't legally drive his car. The paperwork isn't anything to do with his license. Keep your fingers crossed, we shouldn't need to go the legal route, but I mean it when I say if it came to legally removing them, we have hot and cold running lawyers on tap alongside extremely friendly laws for property owners, and it would be a pain, but it would not be a drawn-out process and they wouldn't like the results. I'll either update this post when they're out or as a separate post if there's anything juicy. Cross your fingers I won't need a separate post. Final update. They're out. Bonnie tried to stage a medical thing while we packed their car, but we didn't stop loading their stuff, and in the end she followed her stuff. So they're out on the day we originally agreed. They're going back to the small city as far as I know. I really can't believe someone could act like my friend and then act entitled to squat in the common area of my house indefinitely. The next one is an entitled parent story. Hi everyone, I need to vent and any advice or comments are welcome. Let me explain. I've been without parental care since I was 16 and completely without family since I was 18. I have grandparents and many uncles, but to them I don't exist like to my parents, even though they still cause me harm with debts and inheritance issues. It seems like I'm not someone who deserves love or family. At 18, I found my dog and he became my family. I moved abroad and now I live in Germany. I finally met a really good person that he is my boyfriend after so many bad experiences. Unlike me, he has a large family where everyone takes care of each other. I always feel out of place and have the impression that I'm not liked because I'm very shy and not used to family gatherings. Here's my point. My partner has 2 older brothers and they each have wives and children, perfect German families. These wives have their own parents who love them and do many things together. I can't help but feel intense envy and jealousy when I see how others have such large families to celebrate birthdays, who care for each other, make plans, their life is way easy, etc. And I have no one, just hard levels in life. Somehow I feel bad because everyone celebrates their birthdays like a super party with many family happy for them, and I celebrate my birthday like as a normal day. Right now, the 2 brothers with their wives, kids, grandparents, uncles are all on vacation with their respective families all together. Right now I'm alone and unable to go on vacation because my boyfriend has borderline personality disorder, making it very difficult to make plans outside the home. I see their WhatsApp stories of them together at the beach with captions like "family is the best" or "my great family," and I can't stop crying, feeling like I'll never have anything like that, and like my mother always said, I will be forever alone. I'm sorry if I sound like a bad person. I don't know how to control all this feelings. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.